Buying seeds from the store can be so confusing, and I'm hoping today I can bring some more clarity to this confusing topic of what kind of seeds should I buy. My name is Nicole and this is Morning Chores. Today we're going to define each type of seed that is available for purchase. We're going to discuss the pros and cons of each, and hopefully by the end of this video you will have more clarity on which seed to buy for your garden. I feel like we live in the day and age where there are too many choices. It can really bog you down and rob you of your time, your energy, and your joy, and especially when it comes to purchasing seeds for your garden. I know I found this topic very confusing, and so I decided to make a video because I thought that it would be really helpful, especially for any type of beginning gardener. Although I've been gardening for quite a while now and I still find it confusing at times, and I need to go back and re-look all of these terms up, but I'm hoping today will be helpful. So let's get started. Before we get started in defining these different types of seeds, we need to discuss the difference between GMO and non-GMO. GMO stands for genetically modified seed. Genetically modified seed is seed that has been altered at the DNA level. Usually what happens is they take a gene from another species and they bring it into the genes or the DNA of another particular species to create a new, more resistant tomato or corn. It's more resistant to pests and insects or disease. This is genetically modified seed. Non-GMO is seeds that have not been altered at the DNA level, so they're still in their natural state. A really important thing to understand with GMO and non-GMO is GMO seeds that have been genetically modified, you cannot save the seeds from your plants. So if you buy a GMO pumpkin seed and you grow pumpkins, you cannot save the seeds from that pumpkin to plant in the next year. It's basically a one-time use opportunity for that seed. You use it once and you grow pumpkins, use the pumpkins, and then you're done. You can't perpetuate the seed from year to year. Non-GMO, you can do that. And it's really important to understand these terms because as I define these different types of seeds, we're going to discuss if that type of seed is non-GMO or GMO, and it really makes a difference in your understanding. The first seed we'll be discussing today is open pollinated seeds. Open pollinated seeds are produced when wind, insects, animals, humans cross-pollinate two varieties of the same plant to create a new plant. So you have maybe one tomato variety over here and another tomato variety over there, and they cross-pollinate to create a new variety. The pros to open pollinated seed is that you get a lot of diversity. You can create a lot of, or find a lot of different types of species that come from other species in that same family of plant. The con is that you won't always get what you want. The new variety is going to be slightly different from either of its parent plants, so it's not very reliable. Now the question is, are open pollinated seeds non-GMO or are they GMO? Open pollinated seeds can only be non-GMO. The next seed we'll be discussing are hybrid seeds. Hybrid seeds are purposefully cross-pollinated. This is usually done to mimic nature, but someone like a gardener or a farmer or a scientist is purposefully cross-pollinating two specific varieties to create a better variety. So for example, you may have one tomato variety that's very shelf stable, but it doesn't taste very good. And then on this side, you have a tomato that tastes really good, but it's not very shelf stable. So by taking these two varieties of tomatoes and cross-pollinating, you create a tomato that not only tastes good, but it has a good shelf life. One important indicator that you should be aware of when you're purchasing hybrid seeds is sometimes the seed packets will have an F1 on the packet. This means first generation seed. So that seed that you're purchasing is the first generation from those hybrid parents that were cross-pollinated. The first generation is usually the most stable, the most reliable. You can save seeds from your hybrids. So as you save your seeds from the hybrid, it may be slightly different from its parent plants. So just be aware of that if you do save seeds. It's usually not recommended, but you can try to do it and just see what you get. You just may not get exactly what you got from the parent plants. So going into the pros and cons of hybrid plants, they're extremely reliable, they're very easy to grow, and the con is that if you seed save, you may not get exactly the same thing as the parent plant. So to answer the question, are hybrids GMO or non-GMO? The answer is they are non-GMO seeds. Heirloom seeds are seeds that have been saved down from generation to generation. So yes, these can be open pollinated, and yes, they can be hybrids. In fact, it really is a form of hybrid seed cultivating. There's some really interesting stories from different families where their great grandmother saved her favorite tomato seeds, and every year she would save seeds from her biggest, best producing plant, and then she'd plant those in the next year, and those seeds have been passed down through the family. So there's a lot of interesting history and stories behind heirloom seeds. The pros of heirlooms are that they taste better and they're more aromatic, especially the flowers. The cons are you have to be a little more observant in your garden if you want to save seeds from your heirlooms. So you really have to be paying attention to what plants are producing the best, grow the best, and then you have to take the time to save those seeds, dry them out, and store them. Now, in all reality, it really doesn't take that much time to do this. I do this, and it doesn't take that much time. I really just could not think of a con or a bad thing about heirloom seeds. So that was the only thing I could come up with. But it really is very easy once you get in the habit of doing it. And then to answer the question, are heirloom seeds non-GMO or GMO? The answer is they are non-GMO because you cannot save seeds from genetically modified seed. The next seed we'll be defining is organic seed. Organic seed has to meet very strict standards. For example, number one, they have to be non-GMO. So all organic seed is non-GMO. They have not been genetically modified at the DNA level. Also, they cannot be produced with synthetic chemicals. Now, they can be produced with organic certified chemicals. So chemicals can still be used, but they have to be certified organic. The pros to organic seed is, number one, you're getting a more pure product, something that has not been altered at the DNA level and it hasn't been raised with synthetic chemicals. You can also seed save with organic. The two cons I could really think of with organic is, one, they're more expensive up front, but over the bigger picture, they're actually cheaper because you can save seeds in each growing season. So you really only have to buy the seed one time, and as long as you're diligent about saving seed, you should never have to buy the seed again. I would say the only other con is that they can be a little bit more tedious to grow. Because you're growing organic, you can't really turn to the pesticides and fungicides and herbicides to help you with the plant if it ever gets hit with a fungus or insects or things like that. You usually turn to more natural alternatives, and in my experience, the natural things really only work if you're right on top of it. So you have to be more observant in your garden. You have to spend a little bit more time just watching and checking things to make sure that if something does crop up, you catch it right away. The next seed is treated seed. Treated seed usually has an application applied to the seed itself. Usually it's a fungicide, a herbicide, or a pesticide, something to protect that seed, usually from a pest or some kind of disease, so that it can grow up and produce. So just understand that when that seed is coated with that fungicide, for example, that chemical is going into the seed, and then there will be traces of it in the plant. So if you eat the plant or the cattle eats the corn, there will be small, minute traces of that pesticide in the meat or in the vegetable that you're eating. So just keep that in mind when you buy treated seed. The last type of seeds or plants I wanted to define is determinate versus interdeterminate. Determinate are seeds that are bred to only grow a certain size. So for example, you might buy a dwarf pear tree or some type of bush that has been bred to only grow a specific height and only produce so much. Interdeterminate is a type of tree or plant or bush that has been bred to produce and grow as tall and produce as much as it wants. So sometimes you usually see this when you're buying plants, specifically trees, bushes and things like that. But I was always confused when I went to the nursery. I was like, what does this mean? So I thought I would add that into just to bring some clarity to the table. So now that we've gone to the trouble of defining all these different types of seeds and we've weighed out the pros and cons, now we have to ask ourselves the question, what type of seeds do I buy? I really think it just depends on what your priorities are. If you prioritize having a clean, pure product, then you might want to go the more organic, non-GMO type. If that is not a concern for you and you just want to grow plants really well the first time every year, you might want to lean more towards the conventional GMO seed. Totally up to you, but I'm hoping this video laid it all out for you so that you can make a better decision. If you're new to gardening, I would highly recommend, as I mentioned earlier in the video, start with hybrids because they're very reliable, they're very easy to grow, and that way you can focus on honing in on those gardening practices, so that way you can try the more tedious seeds maybe in the upcoming years. All my favorite seed companies are linked in the description box below. You can also check out our seed starting videos. We just did one a couple weeks ago with the kids, and I have some older videos you can check out. But I hope this encouraged you to get that spring bug, and hopefully we're all getting amped up for our gardening season. Unless you're on the other side of the world, then you may be going into winter. But I think all together we can learn from each other, and that's the most important thing. Hope you guys have a wonderful week, and we'll see you on the next video.